Hello. Today I will be bringing you a ship that I wanted to make a commentary on for a while, but the NDA has prevented me from doing so. That is the Scharnhorst, the new German T7 premium battleship, and I must say, this ship is pretty damn fun. It's almost like they googled fun and then they added everything that could possibly be imagined as fun into this ship right here. First thing you might notice here is the turret traverse. You're seeing how incredibly quick this turret traverse is? Yep, that's a 22.8 second turret traverse with expert marksman. For sake of comparison, an Atago, a T8 cruiser, has a 26 second turret traverse. So this ship has a faster turret traverse than many of the cruisers that you will see in the game. And that is very, very impressive. And it's of course one of the main selling points of this ship. Now I have my detectability down to a nice 13.1 kilometers. I'm running a concealment captain on this. I've actually quite enjoyed it since I've honestly played it very much like a heavy cruiser, like a battle cruiser honestly, and I have very much enjoyed this type of gameplay on it. Another thing worth mentioning about these guns is they have great shell speed. They have an 890 meter per second shell speed, and they have the same speed on both the AP and the HE shells. Now why this is important is that battleships tend to have very slow shell speeds in this game. In fact, most battleships average at about 780 to 800 to 820 about. Like for example the Yamato I think has like 780 meters per second shell speed, so this is an 890. So very fast AP shells and HE shells as well. Of course, even though the shells are fast, it still suffers of course from battleship dispersion. For example, a Moskva that has a 19.4 kilometer range has a dispersion of 155 meters, whereas this battleship that has just 500 meters more range has a dispersion of 242 meters. For those that don't understand what that number means, it's how large of a spread your shells can get when they land. So you can obviously see the difference between this one having almost twice the inaccuracy, so to say, of the Moskva. So still has battleship dispersion. And HE, of course, there's a big difference between AP and HE on the ship. The AP deals 7.2k for Citadel, the HE only deals 3.2k. So it's one of the lowest HE damages on any shell, but of course the reload on the shells is 20 seconds and the fire chance is 20%. So obviously they have gone through some efforts to prevent people from using this as an HE spammer, because with the range and the fact that it's a battleship and battleship fire chance and all this, it could very easily become a strong HE spammer. So they've obviously wanted to limit this, and I fully understand that. And it's quite intelligent, but it doesn't really hurt it, because you still find HE to be useful for switching to destroyers and such. And if you see an angled battleship shooting out 9 shells with 20% fire chance that all deal a significant chunk of damage, is never really that bad. It's still very useful. So it's perfectly understandable, the change they have made. Now, of course, the 20-second reload and the extremely fast turret traverse really makes this feel like this quick, agile ship that you can just quickly switch targets and switch shell type with however you please, very much like a cruiser. Now, another thing to notice is, of course, the speed. This is by far the fastest T7 battleship. There's no competition. The Colorado, the slowest one, does 21 knots, I think. The Nagata is about 25. This Scharnhorst does 30 knots. So it's significantly faster than all the other battleships, which means you are very good at quickly engaging targets, running them down, and you're also quite good at disengaging. Now, the turning circle actually isn't that good at 800 meters. There are certainly several battleships that have a better turning circle. But if you run the rudder shift module as I do, you can actually get the rudder shift down to a very respectable 11.6 seconds, I think it was. So that actually makes you quite agile anyway. And I've been using it a lot for basically being able to dart in and out of battles, which has been very useful. Of course, there's another thing. People who have watched my Turpits gameplay know that I often tap my torpedoes to see what speed the target is going at. You can of course do that on the Scharnhorst as well. You tap the torpedoes to give an estimation of how fast the target is going before you fire at them. And while this battleship has torpedoes, much like the Tirpitz, it does have one less on each side. So once again, it's a slightly toned down version. It's the very same torpedo, 6 kilometer range, 13.7k per torpedo, but it does have one less per side. So obviously a bit of toning down. The HP pool is a bit better than the Colorados, but significantly less than the Nagatos. That's perfectly okay. It's got the speed to make up for it. The armor is actually surprisingly good on it. Like, it really feels tanky as a battleship. I never felt squishy in this ship. In fact, it does surprisingly well being up-tiered as well, because it doesn't really hunt battleships that much. Like, opportune moments it hunts battleship, but mostly it's all about shooting, destroying cruisers and hunting down cruisers. Of course, it can deal good damage to battleships, but mostly broadside. If you angle yourself in a battleship against a Scharnhorst, you won't have much issues bouncing at shells, because once again these are 283mm shells, which is why they have such great turret traverse and such great velocity and all this, but in return of course they lose a lot of penetration, so it's a bit of an equal trade going on there. You might have noticed that I shot down a bunch of planes that went past. That's because this ship has almost as good 105mm anti-air guns as the Tirpitz has. So of course this ship, I don't think I'm using manual, no, I'm not using manual AA here, but if you were to go for a purely Tirpitz or purely Tirpitz Scharnhorst, purely Scharnhorst type of captain, then getting manual AA would be very, very strong on this, just like it's on the Tirpitz, simply because it buffs your AA a lot. In fact, I'll even make a short AA test in the training room to just show you how good of an AA you can get on the ship if you do spec into manual AA. So I will save that for a bit later. But overall, I've been testing this against various battleships, these guns, and so the lower tier ones you can do decent-ish damage if they're angled. It's not going to be good, but it's decent. But you mostly really want broadsides, want to shoot broadsiding battleships in this. I was afraid that this ship would basically, if it would have insane penetration, it would pretty much be overpowered. There could be no argument about it. But if you face a battleship, your tier, even a tier lower, that knows what he's doing, then you're not really going to be able to do much to him until you really get into close range and you can torp him or something similar. So don't really have too many worries about this ship being considered overpowered. It's definitely a very unique flavor. There you saw, by the way, I got set on fire, so I'm just speed boosting, basically getting the hell out of here really quickly, and thanks to my speed, it's actually pretty easy for me to just slip out of here. And that's something I really like about this ship. It really feels maneuverable and fun, and you're able to punish cruisers very, very hard in this ship. But of course, once... Ooh, there you see, battleships have no issues penning you though. So definitely need to take my distance here, being heavily focused by all those battleships. It kind of struggles straight up against battleships, but I think it's supposed to, because if it didn't struggle against battleships, this thing would pretty much be very overpowered. You can see the anti-air here. This is without me even using manual AA, and this is a lot of planes being shot down. But again, more on that later. I think if it didn't have these struggles against same tier battleships, then there would really be no point in playing these other battleships, of course, and the Scharnhorst would be straight up overpowered. But right now, a well-played battleship, or it doesn't even have to be that well-played, just don't give broadside, that's pretty much it. Don't give the Scharnhorst broadside, and you will be able to take it on. But other than that, this ship is a lot of fun. Absolute a bucket load of fun to play. All the annoyances of battleship, the slow speed, or you find yourself out of place, or we're having to wait for your turrets to turn, or sluggish rudder shift. Basically all those annoyances are gone from this ship. It's fast like a cruiser, turrets turn like a cruiser, and hell, even the rudder shift is like a sluggish cruiser. So but it's significantly more forgiving than a cruiser. You don't get deleted if you show a broadside, because you have so much HP and armor that you can really take a hit. So this ship is very, very, very fun to play. And this is the kind of ship that I can play on stream, and I can talk with the chat in between playing, and just have fun and just enjoy playing. So If in case you're wondering if this is a premium that I recommend, then yes, there's some premiums I have not recommended. For example, Indianapolis, Krasny Krim, Campbelltown, and such. And then there's some that I have strongly recommended, like the Molotov, for example. And this is another premium that I strongly recommend. This one is fun, a lot of fun, very strong and very fun. Here you can see, of course, another issue that against battleships you won't really citadel them that much. Like if I was Nagata or Colorado here, I'm pretty sure I'd be citadeling the crap out of all these battleships giving me broadside. But you don't really do that in the ship. I feel like you don't quite have the penetrative power to do that. But you can deal a nice chunk of pure AP damage, as you saw when I got to shoot at the open broadsides. Now the Nagata is obviously waiting for me there, he has his guns aimed. I have no interest in showing myself there. There's even Atlanta and New Mexico waiting as well. Oh, and even the carrier there. So I'm just gonna dip out and see if I can heal up a bit more before I try to take that fight. See if I could get maybe some citadels and not just overpens on this Ryu. I'm shooting a bit too far in the front. His citadel is further back. Get that New Mexico is hidden. Haguro is pretty far away. I think it's time to go. Time to demonstrate the torpedoes, I guess. Yeah, it's time. Let's do it. Do it for the YouTubes. Do it for the YouTubes. It's time to demonstrate the torpedoes. See if I can maybe save our carrier. Of course, the range is very nice, 19.9 kilometers. So you are pretty much efficient at every range. As you can see, you're easily able to punish cruisers, especially thanks to the fast shell speed. You can be very, very punishing to broadsiding cruisers. So I expect a lot of, especially Pensacola's, are going to hate this ship, because this ship kind of counters Pensacola's extremely hard, and that ship really didn't need more counters, but this one is just nasty. See if he's going for me, not really an issue. Shut him down, right? Do it for the YouTubes, time to push in. See if I can citadel him underneath the turrets, but it's unlikely. As you can see, that's a very common thing. I bounced most of his shells there, you saw the angle. Like, this ship has a lot of armor. But he can, if he shoots my superstructure, he can still do significant damage to me. But bow on like this, I can pretty much take him. Of course, the issue becomes when you're not bow on towards them. For example, there's a New Mexico on my right, which is a huge issue. As you can see. Oh, and I think I overturned a bit trying to angle against him. Oof. That what happens when he gets broadside on you. That was, I showed too much broadside. I kind of overturned. I tried to angle against them both at the same time, which was obviously a mistake. Of course, another thing worth mentioning is the secondaries on the ship. They're actually very good. They are better than the Tirpitz secondaries, and just with AFT you got 6.3 kilometer range on them, and they shoot only HE. And damn it, this New Mexico just damaged my front gun, and my repair is not ready. My plan is to get close to him and torpedo him with my left side torpedoes. There's 18 seconds left on those torpedoes. The random spread on the torps left the gap for him to go through. You can see from this angle, New Mexico is even dodging these shells, so you can't really pen him from this angle at all. 3 seconds for the torp. Oh! His secondaries destroyed my torpedo tubes. Well, and you can see from this close range, he can pen me straight through. There's really not much I can do at this point. My torpedo tubes are done, I have no HP. I might go for the ram, but yeah, there's not much point to go for the ram. I won't even be able to make the turn for the ram at this point. Yep, that's a game over for me. Pretty unfortunate his secondary took out my torpedo tube, but such things happen. The game ended soon after, ended in a defeat, couldn't turn it into a victory, but still, 568k credits for a defeat, that's never bad. And overall, the Scharnhorst, if you happen to get matchmaking like this where you're the top dog, you have a very easy time. Even if you happen to end up against T9, thanks to the fact that you're able to spam HE from long range against high tier battleships and wreck cruisers, makes you very, very powerful. Right, here's the anti-air. did I promised, I set myself up against 2 Rangers and 2 Heroes. This will obviously sink me quite quickly, but I just wanted to show you what this is against T7 carriers of 2 different kinds, and this is running AA mods. Manual AA, AFT, and the AA mods instead of the accuracy mods that I usually run. So this is just how good of an AA you can get on the ship if you go all out AA with these secondaries, or well, these big AA guns. So you become very, very potent at shooting down planes, and shooting down planes at T7 matter quite a bit because they simply don't have the capabilities of replenishing them the same way higher tier carriers have. So quite a strong AA if you decide to fully commit for the AA build, that is. But you gotta consider that here I am against 4 carriers at the same time, and this is just for showing how quickly it mows down these planes. You can imagine that usually you will only be facing 1 carrier actually trying to kill you, in which case this AA obviously will prove quite a bit too expensive for them to even bother focusing you. Much like the Texas, they can hit you if they really, really want to, but most of the times the carriers will pick someone else because it simply isn't worth it. So if Scharnhorst players decide to go for very AA focused builds, they will become extremely hard to kill. As usual, moving on to the modules and such. Consumable wise, it's very straightforward. Use the premium repair, use the premium heal, as always. You always recommend using this on battleships. And here you can go, I go main armaments, and of course the accuracy mod. Although, as I said, there's some options here. You saw what kind of AA you can get if you go for the AA build instead. So certainly an option. I prefer the more accurate guns though. That's more up my alley. Damage control, because I don't find myself losing steering or engine pretty much ever. And finally, I prefer steering gears over damage control because you can get that nice 11.6 second rudder shift, which I very much enjoy the way I tend to play the ship, which is a lot of darting in and out of battles and moving around a lot and not really sitting still and basically eating HE damage. Captain perks wise, well, the first one is obviously basics of survivability. It's the best perk for any battleship. Second, expert marksman, once again the best. I prefer vigilance because of the speed over superintendent. You're trading 1 heal for a significantly better chance of dodging torpedoes, which I find more important, especially as the torpedo belt on this battleship is actually the lowest out of all T7. I think the Nagata has something like the 37% reduction, whereas you only have a 24%. No, it's the Colorado, sorry, that has a 37%. Once again, here there's some options. You can go for the manual AA, which is very good if you opt to, for example, play the Tirpitz. You can see the AA defense here. It has 7x2 of these 105mm guns. The Tirpitz has 8x2, so both of these manual AA builds benefit this very same thing. So going manual AA is certainly an option if you purely intend to use it for this. But the secondaries are worth taking into consideration because you get a nice 6.3 kilometer range on them, and even a full secondary build might even be, well, not viable, but hilarious on the Scharnhorst. So secondaries, for that reason alone, I've been playing with the AFD. Of course, I've been playing quite some other German ships as well that I can't really talk about. And finally, of course, expert concealment to be able to get my concealment down to 13. Anyways, that was my Scharnhorst commentary where I tried to cover all the bases. I hope you enjoyed it.